After many years of growing this plant, it has really evolved into one of my all-time favorite plants for many reasons. It is stunning in the landscape, it's very low maintenance all around, and it provides highly nutritious and delicious grain. So let's take a look at a couple of varieties of amaranth that we have. Amazing plant. So this beauty right here is Gold Giant amaranth. It's a superb grain amaranth. They all produce grain, like this red Velvet Curtains does as well. Not quite as much grain as the Gold Giant, but it's beautiful. It's a great cut flower, especially the small side branches of the main shoot before it gets too big. They produce so much grain. It really amazes me. I'll try to get a couple out. Probably won't even be able to see them. That little seed right there becomes this whole big, almost as thick as my wrist and about 7 feet tall. And in this head, I'd wager to say there are many thousands of seeds, probably even tens of thousands. I'll do a little demonstration. I'll snip those off, bring them over, and show you what we do to get the seed out. I like to do this in an area next to the chicken coop. I don't know if you can see them there. We'll take a look in just a second. Any cast off grains or these leaves, I usually start by taking off the leaves, which when they're young are very delicious too. They're also edible. A lot of people grow this for the greens, but the chickens glean that. And generally what I'll do, you have this whole big head, I'll take these branches, just snap them right off so it's easy to work with, and then just kind of work the heads like that, gently tickling them out of their husks. And these, when they're spent, it's impossible to get every grain out, so I just go over the fence. Chickens love him. Isn't that right? They'll glean anything I miss. I'm gonna clear this just so you can kind of get an idea of how much grain falls out of this. Like a nice clear spot there. And this whole head has probably about 30 or 40 of these little branches. I like to take the branches off. I don't know if you can see and hear that, but hundreds, maybe even thousands of seeds falling out of just that one little branch in a few seconds of work. I'll toss that into the chicken coop. Chickens will get anything I missed. Everyone's happy. And we continue. Now, amaranth is so nice in the fact that it's drought tolerant and it doesn't have the fertility requirements that something like corn might have, or it doesn't have really any pest problems that I've come across. Things will munch the leaves a bit, but nothing really impacts the grain. You know, corn, you have to worry about corn earworm, European corn borer, that sort of thing. Has to be on a spray program. It can be very tough and finicky. Amaranth has none of that. It's just such a pretty plant. You get all these protein-rich seeds. It's in a complete protein, which means it has all the essential amino acids, which usually plant proteins are lacking in some of them. Animal proteins are usually the only complete proteins. But amaranth and quinoa, which is very closely related, are a complete protein. We'll cook them just like you would grits or porridge. They're great with fruit mixed into them. You can pop them. That's kind of a little pop toasted crispy grain, and they'll store for years. Once these are dried, I'll dry it down a bit. The chaff will get lighter. I'll blow the chaff off, and then the grain will store once it's dry for years. And then you have your seed to plant and perpetuate the plant. It just amazes me how useful this is and how kind of underutilized actually. Such a great plant. Just in that 30 seconds, maybe minute or so of work, I have thousands of seeds in there. Protein in case the power goes out. It stores without refrigeration or freezing. It's great for the homestead. Amaranth. Highly recommend you grow it. I usually let this sit in our greenhouse for a little bit, and the chaff gets a lot lighter and easier to winnow away, which just means kind of separate from the grain. But just for the purposes of this video, I'll show you what I do. It won't be as effective because the chaff is still pretty heavy, but I'll just kind of wiggle it. The heavier grain falls to the bottom. chaff goes up top, and when it's lighter, it usually just blows right off. And then you're left with just the grain. So we'll do that over and over, and it'll look kind of like this. So once that chaff is blown away, we're left with just the seed. Great protein, good complex carbs, pure nutrition. It's delicious in all its forms. We'll mix fruit into it as a porridge. Great food, great plant. Plant it in your landscape, you will not regret it. We grow it every year.